So like, okay, go for it. So what is your biggest challenge with so far, or what have you found in that?
I think it's the price labs, the setup of the property with Booking.com, with Airbnb, with uplisting. Like I said, there's so many things behind it that you have to kind of understand and make sure that everything that you're setting is doing exactly what you want. So my prime thing was I just don't want one nights at all.
Yeah.
But the more I was setting it up, the more people could book one night.
Yeah,
so whatever I was doing wasn't stopping it. It was actually enhancing. That's how I felt. It was enhancing the one nights and then
making the problem worse.
Yeah.
It is quite challenging because you've got 4 pieces of software, right, that you're trying to figure out in one go.
Yeah.
And you don't quite understand yet how they interact with each other.
No, that was because I was on the phone to Booking.com like, I've set this all up on Price Labs. Why is this happening? And then they did see I was in a bit of a fluster. Yeah. And he was like, I'm going to put you through to our support. But then I'd already spoken to you about it and you'd already changed it. Yeah, he was like, the changes have been done. I was like, okay, great. So can you confirm now no more one night stands ever? And he was like, no, you shouldn't have a problem. I was like, great. And then we got the Airbnb one night stand. So it was kind of like I'd fixed one area, but then it came up on the other area. Yeah. So it's a lot to grasp, I feel, for it all.
I mean, I think one of the things that the difference between like standard rentals and Airbnb or service accommodation, whatever, and I think people or landlords particularly forget to make that jump of like, it's the reason that there is more money in it is also because it's a lot more work.
Oh yeah,
like it's a lot harder, and I think a lot of people jump into it. And it's one of the things I try to iterate, which is why like throughout the setup process, like I've literally, I've logged into your account, like to try and because it is really hard, and I think people think, I'll just put it out there and it works. Yeah, and that's just not entirely.
Even if
happens.
You follow like step-by-step videos, you do set it up, but then you think, right, I've set that up, but it isn't set up that to what you're thinking, and then there's something else that you have to set up to make it how. Yeah, it's just so many different setups that you have to do. But like I said in the beginning, Booking.com was just
the thing. I mean, Booking.com is definitely the least user-friendly of all the software systems that you use. We had the same thing. Yeah. We had for Booking.com, for months, we had 6-night bookings coming through, even though they were long in advance, and we had a minimum of 7 night stays, and I couldn't understand why. And it was exactly that issue that you experienced. It was the rate plan that was not connected to the channel manager. Yeah. So it was, even though we had set it up with a 6-night minimum stay for that particular rate plan, it was overwriting
it's crazy.
It was just it wasn't really overwriting. It was just not connected properly.
It was and that's exactly what we had, wasn't it? And then that's when you pull your hair out because you think,
you don't know where it is
happening because I've already set it up. So why is it happening? And that was my attitude on the phone to Booking.com. To be honest, I was like, tell me why? I don't understand.
I think it's you have to, and that's one of the things that I've been trying. Hopefully, you'll figure it out eventually, and we'll continue to teach you on it. Is like the layers is very complicated. Of you've got Price Labs, which integrates with your channel manager. Yeah. So that's one sync, and that sets up your pricing and your minimum night stays. Yeah. And then that goes out to Booking.com, Airbnb, let's say. But then the problem is that works fine, and that's what we had that all set up fine. But then what happens is Booking.com and Airbnb can sometimes have settings which override that, and that's where I think a lot of people get confused or mistakes can happen. We've had it in the past, and that's one of the first things I did in your account was setting a cleaning fee on Booking.com. Yeah. Because it doesn't always sync through, and we've had it in the past where they book, and then they booked one night, no cleaning fee, and then it's well, okay, I'm not even making it. All you've done is showed up, and I'm getting. I just have to pay the cleaner. I'm not making any money off of it. So I mean, there's a lot to learn within that process along the way, and there's so much there's still so much that
There's still so much.
We'll go through all of monthly stays, long booking, all that kind of stuff. There's so much things that you can still touch on along that process. Yeah. But I mean, that's that's the learning that's still to come, I would say.
Yeah, there's still a lot of learning that we've both got to do, haven't we? But we're we don't shy away from it. We're happy to take it on, but now I feel like we're happy that we're sort of getting the problems as well, because when we do move on to our next property, we'll be ready, and it's a lot easier. We're expecting to have a lot of problems with our first one. Yeah. Some of them we've laughed at, to be fair, but I mean, some of them just really, I mean, when you get the emails and they're whinging about cleaning fee, but they've booked anyway, you're kind of, it's just a waste of message. But yeah, that you've still, even though, I mean, in any type of work, the guest is always right, but it's just trying to work that out, especially after today's fiasco. I could have wrote back loads, I feel.
I think it's like, it's either you're dealing with clients or you're dealing with customers. Yeah. And both can be really annoying in whatever kind of business model that you run. And I think like where you can kind of move forward from that is like learning it, because for us, like one of the biggest lessons that we did, and one of the things that I would say was really important was us. I think the first property we had was in July 2023, and we were telling you off camera about the story where our first guest came in. We got this property, got it live, and obviously we couldn't afford to not really get it live because you start paying rent. But we got the booking in. We were on holiday. And then we had this nightmare guest, and she was there for like a week and complaining about every single thing. Yeah. I mean, luckily enough, she never, like for example, what I've been telling you now about how to sort reviews and do requests and that kind of stuff, if you want to put it in that way. Yeah. But I didn't know any of that to begin with, so I was kind of just like hoping and praying, like, please don't leave us a bad review. Like, I had no idea with any of that kind of stuff. Whereas now I kind of know how to. Let's say play the system in a way that favours you more, because the Airbnb and Booking.com at the end of the day, and it's interesting because I would say that they should treat their host better than they treat their guests, because at the end of the day the hosts make them more money. Yeah. Because like if you have 10 properties, you generate far more revenue for Airbnb than one.
And they take the commission of us. Yeah. Right? They don't charge.
Well, I mean, the guests can't pay it, but I understand what you're saying.
No, the guests pay us plus the cleaning fee. Yeah. But we are basically sponsoring their system. Yeah. And particularly on Booking.com, where basically we are funding their loyalty program on top of it, you know. So I agree. They should.
They always start.
They should treat
you have to learn how to. You have to learn how to navigate it. Yeah. But I think that's more the back end stuff. But what the moral of the story is anyway from that is like we had that property, and I think before we got our next property, it was probably the next one we only actually got that was on rent was 6 months after that, was in January. Yeah. But we did a couple on management along the way. Yeah. But we spent that was like a 3 to 6 month period of just the first one, learning how to kind of like operate it, run the systems, that kind of stuff.
And that was good.
Yeah,
I would always recommend start small, because it means that any mistakes you make,
on a smaller
you
scale.
make on a smaller scale, and then once you've learned the ropes, then you can scale up.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's
because I
that was good for us.
No, it was definitely good for us because in that year then of 2024, we started the year on 2 properties and must have ended up on like 25 or something like that. Like it grew loads within that kind of that 1 year, because we'd spent a lot of that kind of doing a lot of the groundwork on like 1 to 2 to 3 with a couple like one of our own, and then I think 2 or 3 management properties in the mix, and we put a lot of the groundwork in to kind of for when we then was like okay, and then in 2024 she left her job and that kind of stuff, and then it was just like okay, just grow and grow as much as possible. So I mean that was definitely a very good kind of learning experience, and things that we did within that, because I have seen people in the past who take on like 3 in like 1 month.
Yeah, they take I'm not ready for that.
they take like a block of like 5 apartments, and they've never ran any of it before. No. And then obviously if you've got 5 apartments at 50, suddenly your losses can be like £5,000-6,000 a month. Whereas like even if the first month for you guys is like a learning break even like it's going to be like £200. Like, you can stomach to lose £200 for all the learning and bits that you're going to gain within that.
Yeah.
But if you do that times
just
5,
the cost of education, really.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
it. Yeah.
If you do that by 5, and suddenly you're losing £3,000-4,000 a month. And a lot of people make that mistake of trying to grow too quickly.
Yeah, no. Well, we haven't really looked for any, but I am in the process of buying a property as well. Literally just down the road, but outside of the city centre.
Yeah.
Had more in my mind for commuters than actually being central to Milton Keynes and people holidaying or anything like that. But we haven't, apart from that, we've not really looked, have we? I have discussed with family members in Bournemouth if we did start to look there, would they be interested in cleaning jobs, just being there for us to contact, for them to go and check, things like that. So we have a plan, don't we?
We do.
We had a plan, which was 10 properties within a year, wasn't it? I'm kind of like scaling back after.
No, that's doable.
But that was our plan.
You start slow,
and that's how we have. Because we have done a lot of work here, haven't we? But we've thrown ourselves into it and done a lot more. I mean, the staging, I think we found fun, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was probably not a lot of people would like it, but it sort of brung out, should I say, our creativity and how we wanted it to be.
I mean, maybe this doesn't necessarily give, but it actually is really like it's genuinely a really nice flat, and I really like what you've done with it. I think, and that's one like point of advice I was pleased to touch on is like within this industry of service accommodation, you don't have to do the service accommodation part.
No.
If you guys are like, and that's if you go, actually, the staging is where our passion and creativity. Like, a lot of people move into like it's an industry and a market, and then you can kind of like move in through pieces. Like some people stay on like the deal sourcing side because they like finding them. Some people stay on the management side. Some people go into the staging. Like, there's different like avenues and stuff like that within it. So, I think
like have it as a staging company.
Yeah, like I'm saying that.
Yeah, there's definitely people that.
I think we've enjoyed it all, though. Really, we've met a lot of lovely people actually, and a lot of contacts that it's fascinating actually talking to them and finding out their process of how they built. So we've met people that have portfolios of properties. They thought of going into serviced accommodation, but the headache they don't want, it's too much work. But then there was a gentleman we met, and even just having a tenant in has been hard work for him. The state of the properties that are left in and not paying rent, things like that. So he was another one that wants to talk about management, and then he can take a step back. But he was actually an architect and building, so it's nice meeting people from different areas, and they're all come together within the property industry, whether it's renting, whether it's serviced accommodation, or they've thought about it. The discussions we have are quite interesting, aren't they? So I feel like we've enjoyed it from the get-go. It was a bit nervous for you, weren't it, making calls and stuff to begin with?
Well, I mean,
she didn't like it at all, but I feel like you've got more confident and it's better. But there's a few areas we weren't really great in, but persisted and got there. But I love talking to people. I can talk for friends, so it's fine. But everything's been good, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We kind of started back to front, so we talked about actually having the property and managing it.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, the actual, for most people,
getting the property,
which you guys have done very well at from the start.
Yeah.
But like, it's the getting the property that's the hardest part for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they give up before they even get there.
The first couple of weeks we felt like that though, didn't we? So when we first came with you, and then you said 100 calls a day, we were looking at each other like, I don't actually think I can do that. 100 calls in one day, maybe 10. Let's put it down. But and the more that we called, the estate agents were just, some of them were quite rude, weren't they? No, not interested, and hang up. And you sort of look at each other and going, do we call them back? Do we just leave them? Like, well, they're going to end up hating us. So, but we just persisted, kept calling back, and then. Like I said, we ended up just trying to book. So that part was the estate agents and things was a bit harsh, so we started booking to view properties, and then we'd speak to people, and even landlords, then they would tell us, oh, my friend does it and you should come to these meetings, which we still haven't even been to, not one yet. But then the more we booked this property, we only got this because we went to view another property on the other side.
And was this a landlord direct, or was this an estate agent?
No, this was for an estate agent, and we told them at that point when we were viewing the property that we are what we're interested in. And she said she'd go back and talk to her manager, and then it was her manager that contacted us, wasn't it? Said he had this property, and that's how we got it, and we sent them our one pager as well, and I think they were happy with that. So the one pager really helped. I think we just started sending that out so they could give it to landlords, so they better understood what it was we were doing and why it's better for them and things like that. So that helped a lot as well.
So was that an agency that initially was like, no, we don't do company lets?
Well, we didn't even tell them, did we? We just asked to view the property, and that's when I spoke to the lady like straight away, and then said, well, this is what we're after, this is what we do. And she said they couldn't do it with that property because I think it was the mortgage, they didn't have authorisation to do that for company lets. But she said she'd speak to her manager, and then her manager contacted us straight away, and we sent the one pager, and then he gave us a contact for the guy in Bletchley, Tony, and he's the one that's got properties that he wants to hand over for managing. So
is he the one that is the architect?
The architect, Okay. So from the estate agent, he gave us contacts as well. So I think once you get in and you start speaking to people and telling them what you want to do, I think then you get contacts from that person, it all comes. But
that's how it goes.
Yeah, but it's just having the confidence to talk to them and be straight in what it is that you want. But that's how it worked out in the end. But it was difficult to begin with. Estate agents just hung up on us.
I think one of the things, like obviously the 100 calls a day thing, I think the reason I say that, I said it to you and I said it to everyone else, is not because that like you actually need to make 100 calls a day, but more so for like to set the expectation of like, okay, that if I say you need to do 100 and you do 10, it's better than me saying you need to do 10 and you do 2.
True.
And I think that like in my opinion, I don't think it's hard to get the properties. No. I think it's just consistent, like persistence and consistency. If you do that, like, because the process is actually quite simple. But I think you just need to do it like persistent, and I think that's what you've been, is just fairly persistent in it.
I can see why people stop though, because like I said, after a couple of weeks we sort of thought, is it us? Like, is it something we're doing wrong? And then you get into that process or the mindset of, do I really want to call today? Do I want to be hung up on today? So I can see where people stop, but then we obviously took different approaches then. Instead of just calling and saying, oh, do you have any properties that would be interested in this? We took a different approach, actually just booking to view them, talking, then telling them what we do, and took that approach instead of actually just calling and saying, this is what we do, do you have anything? So I can see why people would stop, but again, persistence is definitely the way forward, definitely.
No, I think that's the case with anything. I think I think one of the things that I want to hammer home is like being creative in it. And trying different, like, because I've done what you've done and just booked and shown up. Sometimes gone well, sometimes I've had someone who wasn't very happy with me. So I think it really depends. It depends what your comfort zone level is. And obviously sometimes you need to push yourself out of that actual comfort zone level. But like you said, like for us, a lot of our biggest and best deals or whatever is like just been someone else who passed us on to someone, or someone who knew someone, like all that kind of stuff. But you get that from putting yourself out there, building kind of brand or whatever
I
you want to
agree,
call it.
definitely. Yeah.
I always feel it's like Lego bricks.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of put one Lego brick in and it looks like nothing and there's no results. But if you keep building Legos, it's like these Legos are your connections.
Yeah.
And then one leads to another, and then suddenly you end up with a result.
Yeah.
But it's all these little steps you've put in place to get there.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to, you know, when you can't see the result yet, it's hard not to give up.
No,
And
I agree.
A lot of people fall at that hurdle, definitely.
I think, though, if it's not hard, then it would probably be boring.
Yeah.
Or everyone would do it, which then wouldn't work anymore.
I feel like for it to be a success, it has to be hard. You have to work it and you have to keep going. I think that's with any business. It always starts off harder and then it will be easier once you're set up in the end. But that's why you just keep pushing through and getting it done. But it's kind of enjoyable as well, the hardness of everything, isn't it? And then when you do break through, it's kind of, ooh. Yeah. So
it's a real moment of achievement,
that moment,
right? That sense
especially when it's been hard and you probably have had the thoughts of, I don't want to do this no more. Like, it when you do get to the point, again, you enjoy it for the minutes and then you go, right, we've got to keep going.
Yeah,
we've got other jobs to do. This is
not the stage.
So you take your moment and you carry on, basically. But it's been enjoyable, hasn't it? Yeah. And hopefully we hit our plan.
So what was it that got you kind of interested in property and this in the first place then?
So I wanted to buy property, and then I was following a lot more people about properties, how to flip them, how to make money, how to do everything like that. But every time, I told you, every time I contacted them, they wanted 2,500 for a meeting and things like that. And when you read reviews, it would say, I went to this meeting, I didn't learn anything. So again, it was kind of finding that support, knowing that you're not actually just another number in their books to go to seminars and where they talk and you don't actually learn anything. So then I think I came across your videos about serviced accommodation. And again, I just thought, that's something I could get into. I still, obviously, I'm interested in buying properties, but again, it would be for serviced accommodation and building a portfolio. I'm still interested in that. But it's finding the trust between people, because a lot of things, even when we've met people, they've said, that person's being taken to, I can't remember who it was now, they're being taken to court because someone lost all their money paying for seminars and taking their advice, and they've took them to court and things like, and I'm like, wow, it's it's just not being scammed, really, just actually finding someone that generally wants to help you build and make something, and that's where I went from. Stopped looking into buying and flipping and do it, because there was never any information on it either. When you actually do look around for advice and stuff, it's I'll join this seminar or buy this book for £1, but then you get £100 off my seminar, and it was just a lot of stuff. And when you start reading the reviews, I just wasn't happy with it. And then that's when we contacted Joost, and I think we had a meeting with someone else.
With Alex.
Yeah,
I remember you. No, I remember because Alex came.
The way
to
you said that.
No, because I remember Alex came to me and he was like, "We've got Nikki. She's really interested." I don't know if we had a call or not beforehand, but I just remember he was very much like she's on it. It's kind of like it's like.
I remember you saying the same thing. It was like, this is
like he was like,
this is going to be good.
Yeah, he was like just like he was like you were very like.
I was ready.
Like very like asking a lot of probing questions, kind of test whether like what we actually were saying that we had done, that we had actually done that. And
was
you were just probing a lot of
kind
of what he said, and that was I mean, obviously it's not a bad thing at all.
No.
I think that's what...
I think, like I said, that was more the trust thing. I wanted to know that actually this wasn't just another one of a seminar where you don't learn anything or build anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think then we spoke to you after.
Yeah.
But we were eager from the get-go, weren't we, to start building something. And again, it was more building something that my daughter-in-law could be part of, my kids eventually.
Yeah.
And they have in this whole process. My boys have been over doing the decorating, helping. So it's been a whole process for the whole family, really, and building it together. They all have their own jobs as well, but it's something that we can come together and do together. And be excited about together, actually, isn't it, as a family? So that's why I looked into it, was for my boys, really. And then, we just kept going with it. And then that's where, with this, we have the maintenance part as well. So the boys are part of the maintenance team. They do all the in-house maintenance, anything like that. And then we obviously offer it out to other people as well for their properties. So that's been built on the side of this as well. I was eager from the get-go.
Can I just come back to it, because I think you touched on a really interesting thing. It's your why. It's something, if I'm not mistaken, is in part of like the videos that we offer as well. But it's very much like, if you've got a strong why are you doing this? It really helps with persevering
and pushing through.
Pushing through, because you've got this vision of what you want to achieve.
I think if it's not based on money and it's actually building something, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They might watch your videos and go, I want that money every month, but then they don't actually know what's included in actually getting that.
Hard work.
The hard work that's behind it, and that you have to go through, and you have to go through all them feelings, and you have to go through fighting with your own mind. No, don't give up, keep going, it's going to be worth it. And again, I think if people go into it and they expect to have £10,000 profit within the first month, or they're just not, they will stop, they won't persist. I feel like you said, the why is what drives you and drives anyone, really.
Well,
and if it's motivated just around that, it's easy to quit.
Yeah, because I think money is a very like, everyone
wants it.
It's a fickle motivator. Like as soon as you can live life to a quality of life or degree that, not talking like Ferraris and Bentleys and that kind of money, but like more just like as long as you can pay your bills and live
comfortable.
But as long as you're comfortable, most people don't. The motivation to get past that comfortable stage, let's say, and a lot of people for that might just be the job that they're already in. To get past that comfortable stage is very hard. Of like, oh yeah, I want, like you said, X amount of money or whatever. But it's more like, okay, actually, like that's really not going to motivate you or really get you out to like do the phone calls you don't want to do, or speak to the people, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. But it's kind of like, it's one of the things that I've really touched on recently. Like initially, my first thing was like, okay, I wanted to get my mum out of her job, so that was like a big motivator for me. But even then, after that happened, I didn't stop. I think I realised that actually, like, I realised it quite recently. Is like actually, the goal is just to enjoy, like, build something that you enjoy doing, and build something that actually like you're happy with. And whether that's happiness is like making £5,000 and then being able to go on holiday or travel the world, or whether that's building something massive, but like the money is more like a byproduct of it and not actually what you enjoy doing. But like I kind of just enjoy getting up and working, which is why I work a lot. But that's it. It doesn't really there's no work-life balance, because my life is kind of work and the business, but it's in a good way, but I enjoy it. And I think if you've not got that, or you've not got like, for you it's just purely like a monetary thing, you're probably going to be very unhappy when you realise that like actually I've really got to put a massive shift in here to get to A to Z. Because like, when you have, like last week we had, I mean, this stuff doesn't even bother me anymore, but it used to stress me out. Like last week we had someone punch a hole in the wall, and that would stress me out. Last week I don't even care anymore. I'm just kind of like, all right, fine,
call the handyman.
And you kind of build that stress tolerance up over time.
I think that's the more that you build it up though, because you have so many properties. With us, I feel like if someone coming here, I feel I'd be more heartbroken than actually stressed.
Yeah.
Because of the work that you put in.
Yeah.
But the more that you build, and when you've got enough of them, enough properties that you're renting out, maybe that little special thing that you have really
it does take a bit of the emotion out.
It does take the emotion.
It becomes more like, okay, it's a problem to solve. Rather than you're emotionally attached to the fact that they have damaged the property.
Yeah.
What I still find stressful is like if a guest on the phone, particularly on the phone, if they have a go at me, you know, I've tried everything I can to make them happy.
Still not good enough.
And it's still not good enough. I still, to this day, get stressed out about that. I know I shouldn't.
That's why we have someone who takes most of the phone calls. Now. But I think it's
upsetting mum.
No, but it's like we're very which is why it works well. But like we're very different people and very different like
skill sets.
Like if someone was rude to me or whatever, I wouldn't be rude back because I have that kind of customer facing thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely take less shit and I'm less appeasing of certain people if they're making ridiculous requests or if they're being ridiculous. And sometimes I would say I draw that line a lot further than you do.
Definitely, without a doubt.
But I think there's sometimes it's good because sometimes I have to say like actually stop.
Yeah.
But sometimes she has to say like actually we should do this or we like basically it's basically balancing each other out. Like, sometimes she'll be like actually no we should give this guest this or do this or that. And I'm like in my mind I'm like piss off. But, you know like I wouldn't do it if it was my way, but also like the business wouldn't function the way it does without her, but it wouldn't function the way it does without me.
It makes it a great partnership, definitely.
Because I know a lot of people like you know, you guys are working together. Like a lot of people would hate working with their mum or their mum-in-law. Like that would be like someone's worst nightmare.
I don't think my kids would like working with me. I don't know whether they would, to be honest. Have you found it hard working with me?
I find it quite easy.
Easy.
That's the same. In general, we work really well together.
That one day you were really stressed out, and I was like, put the laptop down, just step away, take a breath, come back to it tomorrow. And she's like, really? I'm like, yes, leave it until tomorrow now. Exactly. But again, because I've been in business before and the way I run with my employees, I'm the same with them as well. If you make a mistake, it's no massive deal. We'll deal with it. We'll fix it. Everything's fixable.
It's a problem to solve.
It's a problem to solve again. But that was the funniest day. I think we just had. It was one of those days. I was like, I'm not even looking at my laptop. Put yours down. That's it. Draw the line. But I think you have to find the people that you work well with, and luckily enough in both businesses I found that, so it makes it a lot easier, and especially if you find staff members, employees or people that you work with that have the same drive and ambition and stuff like that, where you both have, like, it was C that set the 10 properties, so I run with it. I was kind of like, okay, let's do this, I'm with you. So when you find someone that has that and wants that, I feel like it's a lot easier to work together to achieve it, definitely.
But that's another thing, isn't it? It's like having your why, but also having a goal. I think is really important, because you can, even if you miss it, you know, if you don't hit your goal of 10 properties at the end of the year, it's fine.
You know, you worked hard to try and get there.
You've got a vision of where you want to get to, and that makes it 10 times more likely that you will get there than if you didn't have that vision, if you didn't have that goal.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
And the goal shifts all the time anyway. Like it'll be.
It hasn't changed yet, but it could. It could.
I mean,
time.
But like I mean, like that's like if you say 10 by the end of the year. And then next year it might be 20, and then actually like you might be like, actually,
now.
no, maybe, but then like. It might be like, actually, no, we can do 25, we can do 30, whatever. And even like I set our goal by the end of the year, or my goal that I kind of set was $100,000 profit in a month.
Right.
I don't think we'll hit that by the end of the year.
No? I think you're close.
No, there's turnover and profits.
No, we've done 100 revenue, but not turnover.
Okay.
Not profit, sorry. And that was my goal, because I was like, let's just pluck a lot. I kind of just plucked. I was like,
aim high.
I kind of just plucked a really big number out of the air. I was like, we can try and do it. And like where we were in January and how we thought we were going to scale and the business model we were going to take has shifted dramatically from today and where we are now. But I'll be like, oh, you know, if we hit 50, 60, 70 by December, we're still only halfway through the year, right?
Yeah.
If we hit 50, 60, 70, I'll still be really, really happy. Because that 100 was kind of just like, yeah, that sounds absolutely ludicrous. I just picked that out of thin air. And then, you know, we can pick another goal, but it's like, it's more just actually enjoying what you're doing to get there than kind of like, you know, that like that goal is the be all or end all. And it's kind of like, I mean, I would say it's very, very rare that I wake up and I dread having to do work.
Yeah.
There's maybe been a couple of occasions where it's been really stressful. I've had anxiety about like God knows what. But I mean, it's just like, but
is that where you say I need a holiday?
I think it's just like sometimes you can get like
too caught up in it all.
I would say, but maybe that's not correct. But like when you say the holiday, I remember when you were in Athens with your girlfriend.
Yeah, this was about a year ago.
And I was meant to run everything.
Right.
And unfortunately, there were things happening in that week that just meant I was literally on the phone to Joost every single day, if not multiple times a day. And I really wanted him to have his time off. And I felt so bad, but there was just stuff.
That was a year ago. Like at the time, we didn't have.
I mean, we've got staff now,
so
we have more of a buffer now that other people can handle things.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was just you and me.
Yeah.
Right, and there was not a certain knowledge, especially with systems or whatever.
Yeah, we didn't have someone ahead of us who we could actually be like, okay, what do we do here?
Yeah. Yeah, we hadn't, apart from each other, we haven't really...
So I'm still trying to... Like, there's a couple of people who I do look up to in the space, but I think it's... especially the management and rent-to-rent space or whatever, it's kind of like... I don't know that many people who are kind of like at 100+ properties.
Yeah,
which is like... So I'm trying... there's a couple that I know that I kind of follow and I definitely use them as guidance.
Yeah.
But it's hard to kind of like look up. Because I think there's a lot of stuff like... There's a guy that I listen to a lot called Alex Hormozy, I'm not sure, and he kind of calls like there's a lot of stuff for essentially very advanced people.
Right.
So like, let's say you're doing like 3 million plus in turnover a year, and then there's a lot of stuff for like beginners.
Right.
And then like we're in that kind of 1 to 3 million in a year range in terms of turnover. But there's not a lot there. Like there's not a lot of substance there.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to kind of trench your way through and figure it out. But I think a year ago I do remember that quite. but I think you kind of learn to pick it up. It's more. Yeah. There's certain bits that you feel along the way, and what I've realised is like probably 99% of the time we've just worked it out. You just work it out. You just figure out, okay, what do you need to do? How you need to do this. And then it changes the model and things that you learn along the way. Yeah. Yeah. We've got you, so we're not worried. We'll see. I would say, I mean, that's one of the things I think that we, like, I definitely, like, we want to help as much as we can. That's why I'd say, like, it definitely, like, whenever you text or call. Well, we text all the time. Or whatever it is.
It's quite joyful. I think there's something satisfying about being able to share knowledge. Yeah. Why? No, yeah. I would think never. That's the great part. It's nice to support people. Yeah. Some people are like, "Oh, you're not creating your own competitor." It's like, no, I've got thousands of people that I don't know on Airbnb. Yeah. They are my competitors. Yeah, that's it. You are not.
Yeah. You guys are in Milton Keynes. It doesn't really matter. Space. But yeah, I would say because it is quite nice to be like, okay, add this, do that, which like. That's like weeks worth of knowledge that we've built. I can compress into like me logging into your account in like 10 minutes and doing it all and setting it up. But like that took us like all those like bits of like the rate plans, the bookings, the syncing up price line, like that takes weeks to learn that. But like imagine if you had to do that all by yourself.
I think I would have pulled my hair out. I was calling them. When I was on the phone to booking.com, it was absolutely hilarious. The man was like, "It's okay, let me look in." I'm like, "No, I am not happy."
It's not okay.
I am not okay right now. And he knew how stressed I was. He was like, okay, I'm going to put you on hold. Is that okay? I will be back. I'm like, okay, you better. I'm not hanging up. If you hang up on me, I'll be more annoyed, because they hung up on me 3 times, didn't they? So that made me more annoyed. And he was like, don't worry, if I cut you off, I'm going to call you straight back. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's one, like, completely different topic, but like we had that recently with like BT, and it's like finally you get through to one customer service rep who's actually decent, but you have to go through 5 who are like, let me solve the problem for you, and it's like, okay, but you haven't, or let me call you back, and they never call you back. And then you finally get one who's like, okay, actually, like, okay, let me solve this and figure this out for you. But
it's the cutting off that annoys me, I think. They're just cutting off, and then they don't call back, and then you go back on
you have
hold.
to go through the whole process.
Process again. So and it was a Sunday as well, wasn't it? And I was, but then he was like, oh, I can confirm. I'm like, okay, right, well, if I get another one, like booking, I'm coming back. So, it's, no, been stressful. So I would have been known, I think, with all of them platforms. Don't answer the phone to Nikki at all. If I had to do that all from the get-go, I think it would have been very hard to very, very hard.
I think that's one thing that I've realised as well, kind of working with you guys, is how much knowledge we have acquired. We kind of take it for granted.
Oh, definitely.
But in a way, it's even then, like we've tried to put everything in like an online course, etc. But even then, there's stuff coming up clearly that videos may not have covered, or they may not have covered it well enough, or whatever. And it just makes you realise how much is in your head.
I think that's like we've got so much knowledge, and like that's why like I think the info space or the course space of like you said, like you don't want to get scammed, is like there's a lot of like, because those people may not have bad intentions when they put that course together, and even they're probably not bad intentions in what they've done, but the problem is to transfer all that knowledge in like just videos is incredibly hard to do.
Definitely.
And there's just parts that are missed, and there's just not like, you need to, and like, I mean, if I were to go back and do it again, and that's why I'm still looking for someone, you need almost to have that one-to-one support of someone who's not like, because if we were multi-millionaires, we'd be so far detached from what you're actually doing and going through on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't really help. So like for us, we need someone who's like at like 100, 200, who can help us go from 40 to 100, 200. And then when we're at 100, 200, maybe we look at someone who's got 500 or whatever it is. But it's like, for you guys, like we did that not so long ago, so we can give you kind of exactly the blueprint and things that we've learned.
Definitely.
But it's hard to just put that all into like a course and say like, oh yeah, take it, because that's where people like they do it and then they get lost.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And we kind of had to, with help from other people, but we still had to put a lot of that together ourselves.
Yeah. No, it helped us a lot. It was just when it come down to actually setting it all up, there was things that just we couldn't understand, could we? We were like, why is this?
Yeah, it's complex.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the video still helped a lot, definitely. But again, I think when we first came to, we watched them all, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we started looking, and then we forgot what it
You've got to go back and
so when we were setting them up, we were going back and watching them again. So I think maybe we should have just set off what we were doing at the time, so then we knew. So that, probably if I was to go back, that's probably what I'd do now, is just stay on the courses that says what you do in that moment,
the stage you're
the
in,
stage that we're actually at, and then go to them. Probably is how I'd probably do it. But I'm glad we've got you. I'd probably be bald now. I'd definitely probably be bald now, pulling my hair out left, right and centre.
Well,
amazing to see the results.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully the other apartment goes through, and then that will just be, I'm not in any rush.
Is that the one that you were buying?
So I'm going to buy that one, because in my head, still might not work, but in my head, if it doesn't work with serviced accommodation, I'll stick one of the kids in, and they can just have it and pay the mortgage off. So it was kind of like a back full if needed, that they'll just chuck them in and then that's it. It's
a bonus.
They're moving out and they're taking over the mortgage. So so that's why I kind of jumped into it, and it was kind of a good deal. And it's close to the city centre, and it's a flat with a huge garden. So that was another thing. So that's the only reason I've kind of gone, right, I'm definitely going to go for it and put an offer in, because well, Callum, I know he would go into it straight away, to be honest. So
one thing we've learned on serviced accommodation in gardens is you need a gardener, because obviously your guests will never mow the lawn.
No, that's it. Yeah. Luckily in this garden there's no grass, is there?
It's
all just concrete.
Low maintenance.
Low maintenance. Yeah. Probably just cutting the bushes down that overgrow over the fence, but that's it.
Yeah.
And again, it's free parking, offer it on roadside parking, but it's all free. So so we will probably look at turning that into serviced accommodation. But again, if it doesn't work, I've got a backup.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
To be fair, I think he'll be trying to talk me out of it anyway, so he can go into it. But we'll see. I still want to try with serviced accommodation first, and then just stick with them two until we're ready to move on.
So much from
this. Hopefully.
And you can transfer it to that immediately.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
No, that's all right. Thank you. No, thank you, isn't it?
Yeah.
We owe you a lot.
Yes.